Welcome to the introduction to the Scarlett. I'm going to show you here how to make this dual layer skirt. We're going to hem it with a 3cm hem, and it's just turned up once, so you're going to learn how to do that. I'm also going to show you how to gather both of those layers together. Of course, you could also work them singly. And then we're going to put the elastic in the integrated yoke and waistband, which is really great because you can decide how wide you want your elastic to be, and that's then plus 1 centimeter how much you turn it in. That gives you a great option to play about with the different lengths, and it's much easier than having a separate waistband. So now we're going to just quickly check that we've printed off our pattern correctly. It needs to be 5 centimeter or an inch here on the scale. And then you have a assembly plan which tells you how it goes together, and especially if it's a more complicated pattern, that's quite important. Here, of course, you don't really need it. It's rectangles, and we're putting them together, A on B and B on C. Very, very simple. Now, a few of you might say, well, I don't really need, a pattern for this. I'd be happy with measurements, and so I've provided those to you as well in this pattern. So you could just go on page 6 here of the instructions and find all the measurements. Please bear in mind that those measurements are for the fabric cut on the fold, both in centimeters and in inches. So you could just do that if you wanted to. Now I've put all my pieces together, so let's have a quick look at this. This is my yoke and waistband in one, and I'm going to fold it over and turn in the lower edge or serge it. That's up to you. The important thing is that that tunnel that we're creating for the elastic is actually a centimeter wider than the actual elastic. That's all there is to it. So for smaller children, I'd recommend the elastic to be 2.5 centimeters. That's an inch or an inch and a quarter. For older children, sort of 8-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old, you can go and make your waistband 4 or even 5 centimeters wide. That's quite nice too. Then you have the upper and the lower layer of the skirt. They just go on top of each other. And again, you could play around here with the lengths if you like. Just make sure you get them out on the fold. And we have got a 3 centimeters hem on that. If you want to find out how long the whole thing is, then overlap the yoke and the skirts by 2 centimeters and measure down from the waist just to get an idea. Don't forget to take off the seam allowance for the hem, and then you can see, well, maybe I want to make it shorter, I want to make it a little bit longer, and depending on your taste, you can vary the skirt like that really easy. And I've got a little example here. This is what Melissa made for her daughter Scarlett. She made the top layer a little bit shorter than the lower layer, like that. And of course, you have plenty of options to do that. That's why I think it's always nice to have a pattern, even if it's a bit daft to print off rectangles, because you can see at a glance that maybe you want to have different proportions if that's what you choose to do. The instructions are always the same, at least for all my newer patterns. You get a cover and then you get a content page. And then we move on to telling you how to print off your pattern. There's also a link for a free Adobe download and an explanation of your pattern. Here, of course, not really necessary, very easy, but normally you would really like your pattern explained. Then we have the size chart and also the fabric requirements and notions. And this page you have already seen, that's the layout plan, or it is the chart that tells you exactly how much you need. And then we have got a few pages that tell you how to put together your skirt in diagram form, a page that gives you the link to the Facebook and shows you a few examples of what other people have made. And then finally, don't forget, we have got an Amazon shop. So you want to have a look, check it out. So when you go shop on Amazon, support a small business and come into Amazon via my link. The fabric I'm using is from Michael Miller, the Rosalinda collection, and a little bit of ribbon from Offray. And we have the upper layer here in the Rosalinda collection fabric, and you need to cut it twice. There's only one pattern for the upper layer, one pattern for the lower layer. You need to cut the upper layer twice on the fold and the lower layer twice on the fold, and then we've got the waistband which we are cutting twice, and then we have got the lower layer here in a really light shirting fabric, and again it's on the fold, and there's only one pattern piece for that. And I've got rickrack and ribbon to adorn my skirt, as you know, and I'm using rickrack for the top layer and then the ribbon for the lower layer. And also, of course, we need your elastic, and now we're ready to go and sew our skirt.